Good hello, welcome to Onion Skin. This is a live recording, but I want it to be more catered to those who are coming and watching it later as well, so that's why I'm speaking if there's people here, even though there is nobody. I've been researching and trying to train myself in TVPaint for quite some time, but it's rare that I get the opportunity to really sit down with it properly, so I think one approach I really need to have, which I haven't, is to just make something with it, to just animate anything, and have a look at the kind of problems and things that I encounter along the way, and can kind of explore it as a bit of a group experience, which should be good. There's no reason why I should be taking the time to do that just, I guess, by myself. Also, I guess having other people around and knowing that it's going to get broadcast is just good incentive to keep up with it and not continue to put it off, which is very easy to do because it's quite early in the morning right now. So I'm just going to do probably a basic walk cycle of the onion itself, just sort of plodding along. However, my computer is pretty old, and I guess while streaming as well, it's very sluggish while actually drawing, so I can't just kind of whip something up. I have to be fairly deliberate in my strokes, which is a bit of a shame, and probably most certainly going to actually affect the quality of this thing as as time goes on. Hello, those who are starting to arrive. So I'm gonna start off with just kind of expanding the timeline to say 16 frames, and I think add empty instances is the option I want here. Yes, that will give me a bunch of empty frames. And the other piece I'll probably be wanting is the light table, which is what the onion skin is in this program. Or more purpose. Which button is it? I've already forgotten. I know there's a light table button up here somewhere. Oh goodness, has it really been that long since I've used it? Surely not. I'm sure it'll turn up. It's oh geez, that's embarrassing. Have I forgotten where it is already? How awkward. Anyway, so this will probably be about a 30-minute stream. You know, it's kind of just a morning thing before I go to work. But I want to try and get into a habit of doing streams like this somewhat regularly, because there is no other time in the day to just sort of sit down, practice, and research, experiment, etc. Let alone just make content in general. You know, I'm very sporadic when it comes to uploads, but it's because it's you know, it's a fairly low priority thing, to be honest. People often talk about, you know, being YouTubers or doing this for a living, etc. That's I guess, to be perfectly frank, that isn't what I do. This is just a hobby thing. It has nothing to do with income at all. I just do it because it's fun. However, it also means that therefore it kind of just has to take low priority, and I can only do it when like pretty much nothing else needs doing, which is pretty rare. So trying to prioritize a little bit of time, and we'll see how it goes. Goodness, drawing this is going to be very, very tricky with how slowly I have to do it. Very crude and lots of very silly mistakes, so do try to forgive me. Anyway, I guess I can show off a couple of features while I'm at it, because his face is too far down on his body. So I can. Oh, hang on, that's the wrong feature. Okay, this is something that I've been wanting to live stream stuff for a long time, because I can just go for it. But I hesitate, especially for those who are going to watch this later, because they have to put up with encountering dumb mistakes and just sort of falling over myself and repeating things. You know, they're not very practical to actually follow as a tutorial, but hopefully there'll be some form of entertainment along with it anyway. I don't know. Fingers crossed. How's everyone doing? What kind of things have you been animating? Let's talk about that. That's more interesting than what I'm doing, surely. Anyway, I'm going to get a lasso cut thing, and here in the tool properties I can press cut. There we go. That's fun. And then I can slice away this face just like that, and bam, it's gone away. And now it's like in my brush, and I can like stamp it all around. That's pretty neat. But also, I think, is it C or is it Z? Z. Okay, yeah. Then I can scale it down. And then place it. Wait, I need to rotate it too. That's C, I believe. Yeah, there we go. Rotate it a bit like that. Actually, it probably didn't need to be small. and pop him there. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Now he's got that little belly that he needs to have. Okay, but now my brush is stuck as that. And I need to change it back to a pen. That's the top left one. There we go. I'm figuring it out. I got this down. Animation. Okay, so CD Wizard, he's down there saying, I did a quick unsaved Stickman animation yesterday. Well, that's wonderful to hear, but you didn't save it, so no one gets to see it. I remember, if you are working on anything personal that you kind of want to show off, I do like to, you know, make this a group thing, and we can look at each other's animations and talk about them as well. It's not just about what I'm doing here, because I mean, let's face it, this isn't terribly exciting unless we go to the next frame and we draw another frame. Oh my goodness! But I can't believe I've lost where the light table is. Isn't it one of these buttons? One of the, oh, okay, there we go. Yes, it's this one here. Light table on. So it's this light bulb. Yes, see, I'm remembering. It's been months, but there we go. Okay, so is everyone familiar with how the light table works? This is the Untitled feature, but it's way cooler than every other program that has ever been ever. Because you can see how, you know how normally these Untitled features, they fade away the frames either side of it, so you can sort of see what's going on, and you can see that in effect here. The line's going all the way down. But you have manual control over each individual frame, so I can turn these ones on or off. I can turn all of these off and only look at the frame that's 5 frames away, or I can make things that are further away more opaque than others. You see it has a little bit of influence, but there's also a switch somewhere, which I've forgotten where it is, that lets you like completely independently move those levers rather than having an influence on each other. Change between color and tint. What does instance mean? Mode frame. Oh, so many things. More features there needs to be. But you see that and you're like, why doesn't every other program do this? It's so freaking cool. Okay, I've been testing out TVPaint a little, but still a newbie. Well, me too. That's why we all need to do it together. One of the really fun things about trying to teach yourself something while people watch you do it is it's like a group experience, and people call you out on it when you're making mistakes, but that's a good thing because you end up learning stuff. So it's one avenue where like a critical YouTube section is very beneficial because everyone's fairly constructive, which is good. Every time I make a mistake, it's like, hey, you know you can do this, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know I could do that. Thank you, because now I do, and I didn't have to go look it up. And if that's happening to me, then it's almost certain that it's going to be happening to somebody else as well. And that's good, because then I can pop it into a video, and almost certainly there'll be someone replying to that being like, wow, I've been working a different way for years, and now I'm doing it a nicer way. Cool. So we all grow together, which is fun. Okay, which is better, TVPaint or Harmony? There's a personal and an objective answer, I suppose. An objective answer is very also actually subjective, because the two are built for very, very different purposes, and I really hate how much I'm having to like delicately sketch a rough right now. So if I was in a different software, I would be able to draw as fast as I possibly can draw, and then this thing would get done in like a second. But this thing is quite heavy on my poor steam-powered computer, so I guess that's one thing. But also, as far as actual feature set, it's very different depending on what you want to do. So the main sort of key feature with TVPaint is the brush. Everything is about the brush all the time, no matter what. So it's every problem you encounter, you solve from an artistic standpoint. You're like, how do I draw my way out of this situation? So it's very, very simple, back to basics, very friendly for artists, particularly those coming from a traditional background. However, the downside of that is it's also, you know, it's always going to be drawing it pretty much all the time. So it's more time consuming, and when it comes to like full-scale production, like you're less likely to find a TV show or a film that is done in TVPaint, but there's lots of students that use it. Lots of schools tend to teach it. So Toon Boom, because it's a bit more of a Swiss Army knife program, it's got bone rigging, and it's got inbuilt effects compositing and all that kinds of stuff. It's a bit more all-in-one. and very versatile. Like I've never seen any production that uses the same feature set and pipeline twice. So you'll find a lot more productions that tend to use it because like, oh, this thing is like heavily puppet based because there's no time to actually draw anything and we need to make a movie in like a month and a half. Okay, you know, there's no way you could do that by doing it frame by frame, so you can compromise. Likewise for individual things, where I'm just sort of doing it on my own, I often gravitate more towards Toon Boom in that respect, because if it's like, oh, this is just a silly little idea that I need to pump out in an hour, then I could do that. I'll probably just do about 3 keyframes like what I'm doing right now, except I'll be able to draw it a lot faster because the program won't slow me down. Actually, before I move on with that point, Harmony 15 is like the worst in regards to like power consumption. I cannot draw in it at all. It's basically unusable for me. I keep a copy of 14 around so I can actually draw like a normal person. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yes, so if I was doing a silly little quick thing, which I like to call moots, then Toon Boom is like I could just do these 3 keyframes and then quickly like motion tween them. Yeah, similar to what you do in Flash, but in Toon Boom you can have tweens and drawing changes happening simultaneously. You don't have to have a symbol hierarchy in order to do it. So I can make things bounce around in such a way that it sort of blends all the images together, and you can get quite a few seconds done relatively quickly, depending on the consequence of it. So I want to see if there is... do I have any moots lying around that I can just show off real quick as being like, oh, here's an example of something that took 15 minutes. I know I've got a folder of them somewhere, but I don't know if there's any fairly fresh ones out of moots. Cake. Okay, yeah, this would probably be a good example. So often I like to make little animations in like 10 minutes just as a little challenge. Usually it's like when just talking to someone on Messenger or whatever, and it's like, there is not a GIF or an emoji that is appropriate to what I'm talking about right now, so I'm going to draw one, and then I just animate something as quickly as possible. And that's kind of the fun challenge of it, because you have to animate really quickly, because the conversation's still moving on, right? And if you don't finish your project in like 5 to 10 minutes, then it's irrelevant. The conversation will move on, and there's no point in even doing it. So someone was talking about, I think, zombie cake. So okay, there's a zombie cake. It's just three frames, whatever. So that probably took, you know, how long would that take? Like 2 or 3 minutes. But then it was like, oh well, if I put a peg above it, then I can have a little bit of squash and stretch and give it a bit more life. And then you kind of just get into a zone. I was like, I could give it a background. Oh, I could put in color. I could make his eyes glow red. Oh, I don't know. I'll put a matte resize around it so it has an over-the-top outside outline. And then let's give it a title. Maybe it's a film. And then so I probably ended up spending nearly an hour on it. But it's still within moot territory. But I think it's a good example of how some of those features just sort of start to pile on top of each other, and rather than just 3 drawings, you can quickly be like, oh, I'll tween this, I'll color this, and then, you know, using technology, you can start to make stuff. You're right, I am rambling. I'm going to get back to the task at hand. But I don't have too much problem with rambling, because what's the alternative on a stream? Because it would just be dead air. Why would you want that? I'm not too fond of just sitting here silently. I don't think it would be very entertaining watching a stream like this in silence, because the drawing itself is so slow and fairly uninteresting, and work is getting done. But I can try and not talk if you would really prefer it. Thank you, Douglas. Please ramble on. Thank you. I mean, why are you here otherwise? I'm sure there's other things going on. Sorry, I missed a few comments. For getting work done in a rational amount of time, I like Harmony, but looks for prettiness like TVPaint and After Effects to come. Yeah, I highly agree. I'm really starting to second guess what the appropriate workflow would be when it comes to compositing, because I've mostly always used Harmony for that kind of stuff. Because you can do it all natively inside the Node network, but I'm really pushing it beyond probably what it really wants to be doing. Like when things take 5 hours to render, it's probably a bit much. I'm not too happy about that. So, yeah, I think After Effects just wouldn't break a sweat doing that kind of stuff. So I should probably really consider it. I think let's try being clever with recycling stuff. I'll take this frame, stamp it, rotate it, pop it here. How will that do? So normal up. So that needs to go across one and then down. So how do you move, how do you just shuffle frames around? Even stuff like that is still just a bizarre mystery. You can't just pick it up and move it. I think you have to actually cut it and paste it. I mean, that does work, but why can't I shuffle things? I feel like you should be able to shuffle things. And then cutting actually removes the frame and pulls it in, huh? There we go. Light table off. Wait, that's wrong. Up. And then I needed to put the downstate in. I am silly. Needs to goop down, and my microphone cord is across the keyboard, so it's probably rattling every time I do an action. Up, down, and then what? Spring up, down. Wait. Okay, so I want it to spring up, huh? Okay, that's looping. But I'm gonna draw the feet on a different layer because they have to loop differently to the way that feet do. And I'm also not doing a timing chart because it's 6 in the morning and I can't be bothered. Oh, comments. Oh man, so many. This is a really good time of day to stream. I sometimes do it at probably a time that's more appropriate for Australian time, but then there's like, oh, hello 3 people. 35 is a really healthy number. I don't get that very often. Thank you. Especially considering that I haven't really made an appearance in a while. I'd assume I was starting to get a bit forgotten by now. What do you think is the best way to get started into animation? To just do it. So it depends on what your goals are. If you're just sort of wanting to muck around, like if you're in school and you have like a workbook there, just doing like a flip book animation in the little corner is good. Get an app on your phone that lets you do stop motion stuff. Just kind of get comfortable with movement. You don't need fancy software equipment to get started. I don't know why that's a common misconception, to be like, once I have all these things, then I can do, no, just draw. Just do stick figures, do really simple things like, well, like I was showing you with that cake thing before, like start to finish in 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and then you'll naturally start to get more ambitious with each little project. And you're like, oh, well, what if I, you know, added limbs? What if I did a full body character that wasn't stick figures? What if I did something in color? You start to experiment personally. You know, like each upgrade of the Iron Man suit. Now the first one's just this big, bulky, clunky thing built for function, and then they started to get more elegant, started to have more weapons and features and things. Very similar process. Your ideas build on top of ideas, and I think it's the most natural way to improve, especially at first. And then, you know, maybe you'll get to the point that you want to get some more formal training. Oh golly, I went way too far back. My classmates have Google Hangouts and chat, and they never stop talking. Well, I guess it keeps things entertaining. Finally, I caught a stream. So, like you say that, but I don't tend to stream very often, so you probably caught more than you think. I do need to have a talk with you all about streaming schedules, though, moving into the new year, as this is the last opportunity I'll get to do it this year, but I want to get more into a routine moving forward. I haven't seen this TVPaint. I was curious about how it works. Yeah, so if you missed my explanation for it before, watch this video once it uploads afterwards, and then I explain it a bit more. I guess with its differences to other softwares. Since I was used to frames, not images. Oh yeah, it can get confusing. When I'm drawing, I I'm really focused. I look to the right and see a shoe. I think, I wonder what it is made of or what it tastes like. I'm not going to question your thought process, but I guess I'm curious to know more. What do you think is the best way to get started in animation? I already answered that. Blender has incorporated a 2D environment for animation. You can animate like you would in Flash, but in a 3D space. Is that an official thing? I remember it existing in like people sort of just like figured it out, as sort of like as a workaround. So if that's like integrated now, that's really, really freaking cool. And absolutely, I want in, and I'd love to experiment with that and do a bit of a review. What have I done? Did I accidentally turn my spacing all the way down? I don't even know I could do that. Oh, okay, there's a dotted stroke. Okay, whatever. I don't know why I erased these feet. It doesn't look like I'm actually changing anything. Would I consider looking at the Blender stuff and doing a video? Yes. That's something I've been wanting to do for a while. I do have Blender. I do like using it a lot. I haven't used it in a long time. Where is my old Blender stuff? There's some things that I made nearly 10 years ago now. I got into modeling like just for fun. I had an old animated series, and then I was like, the first one was probably like a 10-minute cartoon, and then I was like, I know, I'm going to make a sequel that's an hour long because that's the smart thing to do. And then, sorry, I'm looking for the folder. So I was like, okay, what's the most plausible way to make something that goes for an hour? I know, I'll do it in 3D so I don't have to draw every frame. So, you know, I know in hindsight that's probably not the smartest thing. But I did get pretty far. I built all the characters, I rigged all the characters, I built nearly all of the environments, and then thought, I can't do this. And then stopped. So I never actually started animating it, even though I got, you know, fairly far in. And so much time has passed now that I can't just pick it up and continue. Because you know how it is. Like, I look back on this and it's like, this, you know, it's just not up to standard anymore. Like, I'm pretty happy with just how much I sort of figured out. But, you know, it's still very, very amateur. There's a lot of techniques and processes here that anyone who's actually working in this would be like, that's wrong. Never, ever, ever do it that way. I'd be like, okay. But also in the learning process, I enjoyed modeling. I tolerated rigging. But when it came to like textures and UV unwrapping and stuff, I was just like, no, I do not understand this, and I didn't have much patience for trying to figure it out. So all the characters were simply just colored with material. They were just sort of like this, and then I did like a cell shaded texture, so it was kind of lit up like that. I was like, that'll do, and I probably would have done if I actually just sat down and made the bloody thing 10 years ago. But I guess I should have just gone for a script that was, you know, 10 minutes, not an hour. Have it be 10-minute episodes and make it serious, you idiot. So now I've just got all these assets that never did anything with it. It's just sitting there. And all I have to show for it is a story of incompletion. So let that be a lesson to you. Don't spend your whole life just planning. Just bloody make the stuff. So I go to an art school and tend to have teachers that I disagree with. Mostly when they say I should give up on 2D and go into 3D. Why do they say that? I want to hear their reasoning before I give an answer. Am I planning to make any big projects? Like any big animated projects? Yes, I do have lots of plans for them, but very similar to the one I just showed you. I'm really finding the time to sit down and actually make something is so ambitious to the point of impractical. And years very quickly pass with minimal to no progress. So when it comes to personal animated projects, I need to be very careful about what I choose and what I focus on. There was one that I was supposed to do this year while Nick was living here. You may or may not remember him, depending on how long you've been subscribed, but he was that background artist where we did a few videos together. So we were going to make a basically like a horror series, which would have been really fun. It was perfect for his style. But, you know, we work full time and we got other commitments. We don't, you know, this time last year we were spending a good couple of hours every day in this room just making stuff together. And I regret not just focusing 100% on that project at that time. But I thought, oh, I need to get regular videos out, then we can do it. Oh, I need to get freelance work out, then we can do it. It was always just sort of on the back burner, and therefore it just never happens. So I'm trying to be realistic with personal projects and just being aware that if they happen, they happen. Because you know how sporadic I am with just getting regular content out. So I really want to be able to get one onion skin video done a week, but I mean, how often does that happen, you know? I'm not focusing. This footstep is dumb and silly and dumb, and that's not how it would work, because I need to, how do I select multiple frames? There we go. I'm going to start with that one first. So I feel like I go between talking to people mode and drawing mode, and I really struggle with doing both. Maybe because I keep the chat on the other end of the other monitor. Down, up, wait. All of these are empty. Why are they empty? Okay, so down, up, down. Okay, so that's my problem. You need to be facing the other direction. And I'll do that with the transform tool, I think. Can I skew with this? Oh, no, don't do that. Crap. I think when you make a mistake in free transforming, you just have to do it again. Now, I thought that was a pivot, but it's not. Okay, well, at least I can... Oh, geez, okay, so that does it to the whole bloody layer? That's not what I want. Didn't know that was a thing. That'll be important for my free transform video that's planned. I should probably finish studying it before I teach other people how to do it. Damn. I think I got the idea of what it looks like, but not sure about what it's going to be. Alright. The Blender stuff is essentially 2D, but you have the freedom to move stuff in 3D, but you're still drawing. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that works, because of course 3D exists in Harmony as well. But because Blender is true 3D, I'm assuming it takes a lot more of an emphasis. How could anyone forget you? Oh, thank you. I promise that there's not a huge, ridiculous time delay. I'm just really behind in the comments, and I need to quickly scroll up to catch up. Hello. Oh, hello, Tony Teach. Welcome. I joined in on one of your... No, I missed your stream, but I watched the time delay version of it, where you and your mate were building a new character. It was quite entertaining. 12 PM here. Don't pull all-nighters. I pulled an all-nighter earlier this week. It was probably not a good idea. You go through such a bizarre range of emotions. It's quite an existential experience. Okay, YouTube never gave the notification that you were live, but looks good. Oh, really? Maybe I need to look into something there, but I don't know. That's probably something on your end, not mine. There's a great short film where an animated duo, the brothers McLeod, just did a single 1-second animation a day for a year called 365. Doing something like that for a month is a great way to start. It is a great idea, especially if you're doing moots, like the cakewalk. I'd really love to do something like that every day, because in sessions like this, there probably would be the time to. But if I stream more often, then hopefully I'll get the practice in with regards to talking and drawing simultaneously. Sorry, I'm going to make a conscious effort to talk and draw simultaneously right now. But also getting more done. So choice of program and stuff like that would allow me to get more animations done more quickly, and then certainly compile them. But the TVPaint videos, they are definitely more of a personal study. Like I'm doing this to train and figure out, you know, what I'm doing. And I still haven't finished this step. So I'm going to make a conscious effort now to read another comment and then answer it while drawing it. Oh geez, I scrolled too far and now it's gone. I don't want to miss any of them. But that means I'm probably going to be backed up forever and never actually catch up. I use mostly Moho 12 for animation. I need to get my skills up to, I really want to do Moho. That's like next on my list. It's got some really cool features, especially the control levers. If you use the control levers thing, tell me more about it, because I love it. Okay, it's official. The Blender Foundation is working on a 2D short film using only Blender. That's awesome! Thank you for finding that out. I'll have to look into it more. They incorporated it a while ago. Either now it's 2.8 or something. The grease pencil strokes. Yeah, that's the tool I've heard about. Now objects that can be properly rendered. I'll have to open that up and do it during one of these streams. Hey, South Park is used in Maya, so I guess anything is possible. Yeah, I guess they make use of their Z depth quite heavily. Also, I have no idea how to do rigging because I would never listen to my friend nagging me about it. Rigging is it can be very simple or very complicated depending on what you're going for. Now you can just press D and draw normally, change the frame, make a new drawing. I'm assuming that's the Blender stuff still. On your skin, the usual reasons are money and old age. Old tale of 2D animation is dying, which in some ways I guess is true, but it nor pertains to traditional. Yeah, I would say they are fundamentally incorrect in that 2D is dying, and I know that from personal experience because at least in my community there's people who were trained and studied in 2D, but they moved into they trained and studied in 3D, and they've moved into 2D because there was no work in 3D. Seriously, I think there is more 2D stuff going around than 3D, because like crappy 3D, that's really easy. But if you want to make good 3D, that is harder. That is a lot harder than doing, like just drawing it. And if you look at any like feature film, like a Pixar or a Disney or a DreamWorks or whatever that is like a CG film, more often than not, the entire film is completely animated in 2D first anyway. The 3D is just a really insane way of doing roughs. Sorry, a insane way of doing cleanup. So I think it's completely bogus thought to think that you should move from 2D to 3D because there's more work in it. The vast majority of TV shows are still 2D. 2D made a massive comeback in games, like a long time ago now as well, as soon as the indie scene started. And now lots of mainstream games are 2D as well because it's just more economical. So the only point where that is valid is if you are specifically going to get into feature films. And seriously, how many people are going to be doing that? That's a niche part of the industry. And you need to be among the very best to be able to get into those big studios anyway. So I seriously wouldn't worry about it. There is so much to do in 2D, it's not funny. I guess it can depend on your area and local community. That's the only exception to that. I just know that where I'm at now, there is hardly anything for 3D animators, but there is so much 2D stuff going on that the studios have run out of people to hire. Like, it's crazy. We're having to take people straight out of college and train them on the job because we can't find people who who are already trained. So, yep. Anyway, more stuff. I'm missing stuff. Who animates in Krita? Yeah, I really need to do some Krita stuff to cater to free programs, which has really gained a lot of traction over the last year, hasn't it? The closest I've gone to animation is those crappy apps on my tablet. Yeah, get hold of Krita or something like that. Apparently it's pretty good.
Is there symbols in Toon Boom? Yes, they work a little bit differently. 9 times out of 10, you'll be wanting to use pegs instead because it all works on the root timeline. But symbols do exist. Lovely tutorial. Do you mean what I'm doing right now? Oh, thank you, because it doesn't really feel like a tutorial. Okay, you can change something, select more frames, press enter. Yep. Sorry, I'm jumping between like random conversation amongst yourselves. But I'm glad that you are talking amongst yourselves. That's good. Krita is not very user-friendly. I bought Clip Studio Paint X on sale for $86 and it works amazingly well, but it's just frame by frame. Okay, so if Krita's not very user-friendly, then it's probably going to be good for me to make some lessons in it, huh? Okay, it looks like people are like frustratingly agreeing with the 2D thing. I knew it. Damn it. Yes, I love 2D. Thank you. I'm glad that we all feel this way. Okay, when you make a moot, is it called mooting? No, maybe I'll adopt the term though. So anything that I deem a moot is anything that I can make in less than, say, half an hour. 20 minutes or less is usually moot. I think 2D animation is amazing. If you look at old 3D films, they look like trash now, but old 2D animation looks great, right? It ages better. It ages way better. And that's not just in, like film-wise, sorry, like completely film-wise, but in live-action stuff too. So where there is still lots of... Sorry, actually, yeah, I eat my own words when I say there isn't too much work in... sorry. There isn't a whole lot of work in 2D films, but and I think they're saying that there is a lot of work in 3D films because it isn't just doing the Pixars and the Disneys, but every film is like animated now. Like every live action film is like 30-40% animation. Like it's crazy. You know, like they say there's like live action Lion King coming out and you're like, that's not live action. It's just photorealistic animation. You're not going out and shooting real lions and lip syncing them. Like they're going to be built and animated, right? At least that's what it seems it's going to be. So, but same thing of what you're saying before is that 2D ages better. So, you know, CGI that's 15 years old doesn't age as well as practical effects. That's why, you know, the mainstream audience seems to prefer prosthetics and stuff where possible. And doesn't really want an over-dependence on 3D if they can help it. Now, I don't think their perception is necessarily correct because there's a lot of CG that they don't even realize is happening, but I'm rambling. That's a topic for another day, but I would like to revisit talking about that. I need to drag you over to my teachers so you can testify for me. Yeah, I wonder when the last time they were working in the industry was. As long as humans use paper 2D, we'll never do that. We'll never die. But humans don't really use paper much anymore, is the problem. But we still draw on tablets, like what I'm doing right now. 2D tween animation stuff really turns me off, but when I saw this Portuguese cartoon with very expressive characters, I noticed the possibilities of the effort was put in flash animation. Yeah, so tweens absolutely have a place. It comes down to style and it comes down to budget. If you have a minimal amount of money, time, and people in order to make something, like sometimes you have to depend on it, but there is absolutely a way to make it look appealing. Yeah, it's just very easy to get lazy with tweening, and that's when it starts to fall a bit. Oh, Credo would be good if it wasn't so buggy. Oh, that's a shame. Hey, I wanted to thank you. Your tutorials have saved me when a uni handout hand in, and I'm glad that you think the 2D industry is going strong where I want to focus. That's good. I want to hear where my videos have apparently saved you, because I feel like a lot of them are outdated. Like I spent most of this year doing read between the frame stuff and not tutorials. And I feel bad about that because I think my tutorials have really fallen by the wayside, and there's lots of sort of incomplete topics. You're not really able to get a completely well-rounded knowledge on a software from watching my stuff exclusively, and you have to, you know, go seek it out elsewhere. So I really want to go back and fill in those gaps and do it properly. I really tried to do both, but I think it's evident that it's impossible. I need to focus on one or the other. So read between the frames is going to have to take a bit of a break while I go and, you know, first fill in the TVPaint stuff, and then I'm going to go likely go do more Toon Boom and some of the other programs as well. There's so much left to talk about, and I don't have the time to talk about it, so I need to really pick and choose my battles, because real life doesn't stop, and this always has to be in spare time. I think I'll go back to the Brave Frontier fan. Here is a trick for... Wait. Here is a trick for that you close your eyes and think what makes you happy, then draw it. Yeah, especially if you're working on a major project thing. Like, what are you going to be okay with drawing for 6 months solid? Problem is I can't draw cats. And learn how to draw them. It's not a black and white thing where you either can or can't draw it. Figure it out, you silly. Oh, that is not a problem. You can draw a cat and then, yeah, you already said it. Drawing anything is easy for me because I draw a bunch of goofy derpy stuff. Now, I agree, Jacob Allen. That's my approach as well. I'll draw something really silly and goofy and people are like, well, you're so good at drawing. And I'm like, yes, because I'm drawing something that you've never, like that is completely off the rails. You have no idea if this is good or not. What if this is completely different to my personal vision? And I'm just like, yep, exactly what it's meant to be. And if I tried doing your photorealistic thing right now, you'd be like, yeah. So Goofy is fun because you can do whatever the heck you want and no one can call you out on it. But that's also kind of stubborn as well. And I put off drawing realistic for a very long time because I didn't want to be criticized. But that is not a great idea. Okay, I know everyone here misses 2D animation, but what about animated real-life hybrids similar to Disney's Dinosaurs? The idea of real-life movies with animated characters really... you do have a good point. I think there is room for innovation and exploration, and you could be able to combine different mediums in ways that hasn't been done yet, for sure. And I think probably the upcoming Lion King thing that I mentioned before is basically going to be that. I reckon there's going to be a lot of live action backgrounds with 3D animated characters. So it's a very modern reflection on exactly that idea. You mentioned that YouTube isn't your primary source of income. Do you work at an animation studio? What would you change for the animation on the internet? Yes, I do work in a studio. So what would I change for animation on the internet? That it could be a focus. I think that's a pretty common conversation. I don't really have too much to add that hasn't been said before, is that the online community is very focused on here and now. It is a day-by-day thing. So the only time you see animators really gain any traction is, say, like the Storytime animators, where they're able to get out something usually once a week. And that means their visuals are very animatic and very loose. Maybe you'll get a bit of bounce and tween in there, but it's rare that an actual animator can survive 100% off this. And, it'd be nice if that could change, but there's not really much control we have over that. Yeah, it's the way it's got to be. I really like Read Between the Frames too, but TVPaint stuff is really cool. Yeah, in a perfect world, I'd love to do both, and I feel terrible like having to sacrifice anything for anything else. But like I spoke to TVPaint when I started doing this, and they were, I was like, I'm gonna get this amount of stuff out, and then they were like, so is that happening? I was like, oh yeah. So, I don't want to back down from that promise. See, there isn't a whole lot of TVPaint lessons out there on YouTube anyway, so I really want to try and plug that hole. Anyway, I didn't get a whole lot of drawing done, but I did get a start. And it has already been half an hour, so I have to go get ready so I don't be late. So I feel bad for bailing when there's quite a few of you here, and I'm really enjoying this conversation. But rather than long streams very rarely, I want to do these shorter ones a lot more often. Maybe I said this the last time I did this, I don't know. But I feel it's a big deal that I am streaming today, because this is like my last day before the Christmas break. And what I've really wanted to do, and I really, really hesitate saying this out loud. Sorry, I'm on a little bit of a ramble. I'm not leaving yet, because I need to finish saying this thing. But whenever there's, and I'm sure you've all seen, YouTubers do this all the time, where they get excited and they say, this is my plan going forward. And they'll say, however, this many videos a week, these are the topics, blah 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 blah, and then they just don't deliver on it, and just nothing happens. So I am terrified of being that guy, and I'm very glad that I am, because there has been many occasions where I'm just like, yep, this is my plan, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm right on the very edge of sitting down in front of a microphone and laying it all out and being like, this is my commitment, and then never being able to keep with it. And I say to myself, I need to keep this up for a month, and then I will announce it. And I have never once been able to keep up anything for a month. My biggest flaw is consistency. And any of my friends that do YouTube, they say the number one thing is consistency. The only way you can make it on this platform is consistency. And I'm just like, I can't. I just can't. I'm no good at it. So that's why I hesitate bringing this up now. But I'm going to mention it anyway. Because I really want to be committed to it next year, but whether or not I actually do, we'll see. But there's plenty of you here, so I will get in trouble if I don't do it. And the fact that I did it today is a testament to it. Yeah, and that's just streaming in the morning. Simply put, I'd really like to get up and just do a quick 30 to 45 minute stream on weekday mornings. Simple as that. But I usually don't, because getting up in the morning is like the worst, and I hate it. But I think it would be a really nice routine to, there will always be time to just practice and research. And if there's a few people that are like tuning in regularly, then it means I have to do it. I can't miss it, because there's like people are going to be like, why didn't you stream? You have to do it. Does that make sense? But yeah, I really hesitate saying it, because I've been wanting to do this seriously for like a year and a half or more, and it's never really happened. And this is one of the first days that I've actually done it. So saying I can do it from now on is a ludicrous thought. But I think I need to announce it, because one of the reasons why I haven't done it is because there is no routine, and therefore the audience does not expect me to. But announcing it now means the audience is going to expect me to do it. So after the Christmas break, if I don't start streaming at pretty much exactly this time every weekday, then you're going to be like, you didn't do the thing. Why don't you do the thing you said you were going to do? And I'll be like, oh, I suck. Okay, I better start doing the thing. So I will see. It does sort of depend on how next year plays out. I don't know if I'm going to have to move house or whatever. But yeah. So where do I have to go? I've got to go to work now. It's about 6:30 in the morning. So that's the other reason why doing morning streams is going to be tricky. Because in order to do a 45-minute stream, I got to get up at 5:30, which is very easy to not do. But it's the only time I'd get. So thank you all for your accountability. Shouting, go get ready. Thank you for your accountability. I appreciate having you around. You're very friendly, and I'll see you next year for animation. Keep it up. Take care. Bye bye.